Da, 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 da.
Greetings, fellow test subjects. Test subject 1337 here for Aperture Gaming. They make it, we test it, you play it. And now it's time to blow off some steam with a boss review. Now, as I intimated, here's what. The first Steam game I reviewed was Hi-Fi Rush, and that came out in January of this year. So, I am going to try to play catch up a little bit and review some other games that were released on Steam throughout the year, because I'm going to try to have a good, assembly balance together. So, this game that I'm reviewing originally came out in February of this year. So, let's get right into the review, shall we?
Series.
The game that I am reviewing is called Unmatched Digital Edition, and it is based on a tabletop board game that was released in 2019.
Team.
Unmatched is published by Restoration Games and is also published and developed by Acrom Digital.
Plot.
The plot of the game is, it kind of reminds me of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So imagine like you have King Arthur, and you're wondering, King Arthur versus Alice from Alice in Wonderland. And they are battling, their battleground is the Baskerville Manor. So basically it's famous literary characters in battle with each other. So, yeah. It's set up in the style of a board game.
Gameplay controls.
As I said, the game is based on like a board game. It's based on, like I said, the tabletop game. So I'm guessing there's a great similarity. So you pick a character. Your primary character, warrior, is an actual game piece. And if they have any secondaries to help them in combat, they're depicted as tokens. You're given a board where you can figure out where you can move, and like if you're in a certain area where you can actually do long range attacks. The game is where you can draw a card. In this case, you click to draw a card, or by doing an action. And the cards are like if this action, the first part does this, and then this action, the second part does this. It depends. And cards are either designated to your character, your primary, or your secondary. It depends on whether you attack, defend, heal, move, etc. These actions take place on the board and go back and forth between your turn and the other player's turn.
Graphics.
Graphics-wise, it it looks like a game board. Now, honestly, I've never played the physical real-world edition of this game, so I'm just going to have to guess that everything looks like it's supposed to. Yeah, so it looks like a game board, and they all look like game pieces, and they move around by select, and it just slides along the board, or if it's like connected joints to each other, or if it's on the other side of the board, it just picks up, moves over, and lands on the other side.
Audio.
Yes, there is some music that plays throughout the game while you're playing, and there's also sound effects of combat, like sounds of melee weapons clashing, or like at the start of each turn, a character will have an audio cue that they say something. Yeah, I wasn't really paying too much attention to the audio because it's kind of like an afterthought, but because I was so focused on the game.
Multiplayer.
This game can be played solo, but since it is based on a real-world game, it is intended to be played multiplayer.
DLC.
Yes, there is in fact a lot of DLC. You start with a predetermined number of characters and locations, but there is DLC if you want to add more characters for playable purposes and more locations.
Issues.
From a technical gameplay standpoint, there is nothing wrong with the game, but there are two things that were kind of that were bothering me. The first one is how if you want to do online gameplay, you have to set up an online account, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got this through Steam, so why do I need to set up a new account? Can't I just use my Steam account? So that's kind of an annoying thing. And then there's this other nitpick that I have. So back at the start of 2000, in 2000, 2001, there were two other digital edition games I had played, Stratego and Clue. And Clue I actually got, it was a free game in a box of General Mills cereal. Now here's the thing, for both these games, the pieces involved, they actually look like human characters, and when you move them around, they actually animated the movements of each character. And when they were in combat, they actually had a interesting, unique Plus, they had a unique animation movement for if they could, for like Strategico, if character 8 was facing character 7, there was that. And if it was even, they both disappeared. And like 9 and up was a different set of animation. And for the clue, they moved around between the rooms. And then when you made your guess of who did what with which item and which room, they actually played a pre-rendered cinematic with lightning and thunder and sound effects. The combat for this game, like, here's what. You'll see the cards graphics and you'll see the piece graphics, but here's what. The combat, it reminds me very much of Generation 1 Pokemon. The pieces will move around a bit, like Shake. You'll see like a graphic that shows the melee weapons hitting each other, and you'll hear a sound effect, and that's it. So I can't tell if it's because they're trying to emulate still have it look, sound, and feel and act like a tabletop board game, or if they ran out of time to, animate it some more. But yeah, that's kind of an issue.
Buy, rent, or pass.
I gave this game a shot. I've never played a game like this before, so I figured I'd give it a shot, but I'm going to say, if it's possible, I'd say this would definitely be in the rental category. Maybe if I had, I don't know, other people to play with it in the same house, potentially, and if I didn't have to, set up an online account, it might have more appeal. Right now, I'd say it's a rental.
Overall score.
Alright, so like I said, gameplay-wise, technically, there's nothing wrong with this game. It was a good game to play, but like I said, there's a couple of things that just kind of are a little for me to nitpick at. So I'm going to give this game a 6.5 out of 10. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's just more in the rental category. Or like, you'd have to be a fan. Like, I guess if you're a fan of the franchise and if you actually played the physical edition, you might like it. Or if you've heard of the physical edition but you don't have, room to store all the pieces and stuff, then the digital is a good option. So yeah, I mean, check it out. Maybe watch some reviews. Maybe watch some videos of other people playing it first. Or like I said, if it's a rental, there's that possibility. So yeah, like I said, 6.5 out of 10. So not bad, but could use a little spit and polish, in my opinion at least. All right, well that's all the time we have for this episode. Until next time, this has been Test Subject 1337 saying thank you for watching. This has been Aperture Gaming, and thank you very much for blowing off some steam with a B.O.S. review. Game on, and have a nice day.